Hi, I'm Amy Hannon, and nothing thrills me more than people and food. I'm a preacher's wife, a mom of 3, and I own my own specialty kitchen store. I've kept an open door and a well-stocked fridge, which means I have fed a lot of mouths over the years. So welcome to my kitchen. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome back to my kitchen today. I'm so glad you're with me. I have got something really fun to share with you today, a great recipe that comes from our new show sponsor, Westrock Coffee. They are actually a coffee roasting company in North Little Rock, so we're really proud because they're an Arkansas brand. And they have a really great story. They're very missional about the beans and the farming and the harvesting and the mills that they use in Rwanda. And they have a fantastic story, and they're great folks, and their product is outstanding. This coffee is so smooth. I've been drinking this Rwanda blend in the mornings with a little cream, a little sugar, and it is outstanding. Of course, I get mine at Harps, and it is great. They even have K-cups, y'all, that you can put in your Keurig, which is so nice, isn't it? So anyway, we are really tickled to have them as a show sponsor, and we're going to use their coffee products today to make the most fantastic coffee and chili rubbed pork chop. It is so good, and it is super easy because we're just going to stick it in our cast iron skillet, get a good sear on it, and then put it in the oven. It is that easy. Y'all have seen me do something similar to this before. The flavors in this rub, you're not going to believe. So let's get started on it, okay? So what we have is a bowl, and we're going to make a rub. This rub's got several really great unique kind of flavors in it, including coriander, which is so good. We don't use it very often, but it is fantastic in here. So here we go. The recipe for this rub is 3 tablespoons of salt, and then a tablespoon of ground black pepper. Okay? And then we're actually going to put ground coffee in our rub. And this is such a rich flavor, and it combines with all of these other spices and a little bit of brown sugar. Oh my goodness, it is so good. I'm going to do a kind of a heaping tablespoon of this Rwanda blend. Now they have some other blends like a mezza blend that's a morning coffee, but of course, you know, morning coffee actually has a little bit of a lighter flavor to it, and this one is a little heavier coffee, and it tastes so great in this rub. I'm actually going to use the mezza probably more for like desserts where I want a little bit lighter coffee flavor, but for this good hearty pork chop and this fantastic pan sauce that comes with it, we're going to go ahead and use this Rwanda blend. It already smells so good. Okay, so we have a couple of tablespoons of our salt and our pepper and our ground coffee, and then I've already pre-measured. We have a teaspoon of chili powder, a teaspoon of coriander, which actually has kind of a citrusy flavor. It actually kind of brightens up this rub a little bit. I have garlic powder, a teaspoon of that too, and a teaspoon of onion powder. So really easy, and I just pre-measured those, and that's a piece of cake right there. And then, because this is so savory, I mean really salty, lots of spice, lots of flavors, I actually just added a little bit of sweet to it, and I'm adding in a couple of tablespoons of brown sugar. This is just light brown sugar. And you know, when we're about to put something in a hot skillet and we add this brown sugar to it, it gets that good caramelize that we love on the outside of a piece of meat. You know, that's so good. Love those bites. So these are our dries, and I'm going to give that just a little bit of a whisk to kind of combine that. You would not even believe all the smells coming out of this little bowl. Oh my goodness. And that coffee in it, y'all, it just makes it so rich, almost chocolatey. You know how coffee kind of gives you that flavor? Okay. Then I'm going to add in a couple of squirts of Dijon mustard, probably a couple of tablespoons or so. This is to taste. If you don't love this flavor in your rub, then you can kind of go a little lighter. We actually really, really like this. I made these the other night, as a matter of fact. Kind of did a little practice run. And y'all, my husband and my boys absolutely loved it. And they loved that Dijon mustard in there. So I kind of went a little heavy. Now I'm going to pour in a little bit, a couple of tablespoons of good honey, and this is Savannah Bee honey. We sell this at Unimaze. This is the acacia one. It's a little bit floral. And then to kind of incorporate it all, like a lot of things, we're going to do a little drizzle of olive oil. And what this does is it kind of creates a really wet paste of sorts, okay? And then what I'm putting these on today are, oh, that's going to be a mess. What I'm putting these on today are bone-in pork chops. Ooh, that's a pretty good little save, wouldn't you say? I think it's going to flip out again. I'm putting that in the sink. Okay, bone-in pork chops. And this is so easy, y'all. I'm taking these pork chops, and we love the bone. Don't be afraid of the bone because, you know, there's tons of flavor right around that tender meat, right around that bone. Oh, my goodness, it's probably the best bite of all. Tender, tender, good stuff. I'm going to just kind of shove these on this little pan. We're going to glaze these real quick. Nothing fancy. I'm even just going to use my teaspoon and pour this on both sides of this pork chop, just like this. Coat both sides, cover them and stick them in the refrigerator, and they'll be just fine. We're going to let them marinate about 30 minutes. When we come back, we're going to start our potatoes. This is cooking today.
Iced tea, sponsored by Lipton.
Hi, welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are making beautiful coffee and chili rubbed pork chops, bone-in pork chops that are going to go in our skillet, and they are going to be so good. I mean, so good. You're going to love these. Your family's going to love them like mine did when we did a little practice run of them last week. Oh, my word. So I made that little paste filled with all those seasonings and then rubbed them on both sides of the pork chops and then covered those and put them in the refrigerator. And they need to sit in there about 30 minutes or so. And I've actually already taken them out, and we've got them sitting behind us. And I am now just cubing some potatoes. And I'm going to make these beautiful, rich, really good rich, Swiss Gruyere mashed potatoes with the skins on, with a little chive, butter and cream, you know, all the good stuff that we love. And we're going to put those on the stove and let those get going. I just have about a 28-ounce bag of these little yellow potatoes. In my opinion, the yellow are just kind of a little sweeter, and they just boil so pretty. And I don't even take the skins off because there's so much goodness in the skin. So I'm just cubing them. They're small already, so I'm just cutting them in half and quartering them again. And then I'm just going to put them in this bowl. I have my water in my big Dutch oven going. I've already got it boiling so that it's ready to go. Did you know, I did not know this till I was older. I'm kind of embarrassed because it seems like such a no-brainer in the kitchen. But did you know that if you actually cover your pot while your water's trying to boil, that it'll boil quicker? Why didn't we know that? I've always just watched my pot with the lid off, and it takes 100 years, it seems like. So we pop that lid right on, it holds the heat, and my water boiled quicker. Can you even believe how great that is? Love that tip. Okay, 28-ounce bag of potatoes. We've got boiled water over here. So I'm going to remove this lid, and it's going to be hot. And when you make potatoes, you want to be sure that you have really good salted water because that's where all the salt gets in and gives the potatoes their flavor and tenderizes them and all of that. And so we're going to add a lot of salt to our potatoes. And I just use a big spoon to set those down in there. Now, some folks like to start their mashed potatoes in cold water. You could do that as well if you would like. But this is just kind of how we've always done it around here, so that's what we're doing. Whoop. I'll let one get away from me. Okay, so I'm just putting these potatoes in this hot water and a couple of other little prep things that we have going. We have our cast iron skillet preheating on pretty much high, probably medium high or so that we can sear our pork chops in our cast iron skillet. I also have my oven preheated to 375 because once we get a good sear on these pork chops, we're going to set those in that oven and let them finish cooking through the middle, and they get really nice and tender. So we kind of have a couple of things going. Okay, so I've got my water, and then I'm going to go ahead and give this a lot of salt right here. A couple of really good pinches, and then we're just going to let it do its thing right there. Those need to be fork tender, and the skins on the outside of the potatoes start to kind of loosen and peel off. They're delicious. Okay, let's get ready for our pork chops. So these are the pork chops that we let marinate in that good glaze. It's got the coffee and the coriander and the chili and all that good stuff on it. And we just covered those and put them in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes or so. And now I've let them come back to room temperature for just a few minutes. And we have a preheated 12-inch cast iron skillet. Oh, and if it weren't hot, I would show you. It's my new Southern Living cast iron skillet. It is just, it's probably my new favorite. It's beautiful. You know, Southern Living is one of my faves, and they just had their big anniversary, 50th year. So they're doing all kinds of fun things, like a pretty new cast iron skillet. Okay, so what I've got, my cast iron skillet, we need to swirl this pretty well with olive oil so that it doesn't stick. And this is pre-seasoned, but we actually want some of the oil in there because eventually it pulls out a lot of the liquid that'll come on those pork chops, and then it creates this amazing little pan sauce, these drippings. Oh my word, it's really good. So, y'all, this is hot, so just be careful. And I'm gonna take just a fork and lay these pork chops. I'm gonna make sure that we've kind of rubbed them down in there so they have all the good stuff on them. Yeah. So when you lay your pork chops down in your hot skillet with your hot grease, be sure to lay them down really carefully and try to lay them down away from you so that that grease doesn't splatter up on top of you. Okay. Ooh, I'm coating these real quick before I stick them in. Look, can you see? Look at all that good stuff. We don't want to lose that. Okay. Number 2. And then number 3. If you were going to do several of these, like you needed to do more than 3, then just make them in batches. But you don't want to cram meat into your pan because they steam each other and they don't cook real well. So be sure to give your meat just enough room so these chops don't just cook on top of each other. Okay. So we have got those searing away. We're gonna let those cook on both sides for just a couple of minutes. We want them to get nice and dark. You may have to flip them a few times. When we come back, we're gonna check on our potatoes and start to shred some amazing cheese and some good stuff to put in the potatoes. And we will just round out this meal. This is Cooking Today. Hi, we're back. This is Cooking Today. We are actually doing our feature recipe today from Westrock Coffee. They are our new sponsor. And they have a great product that we have actually combined with some chili and coriander and onion and garlic powder and brown sugar. I mean, all the things you love. And we've rubbed down some pork chops that we have seared in our skillet. And I'll show you. They are beautiful and they are dark. And you do not have to panic if these look especially dark. It's the rub. It's got all that brown sugar in it and that dark Rwandan coffee. And so they do need to be dark. But don't worry, don't think, oh my word, I've ruined these. It is crusted and delicious. Remember how I said that we preheated our oven to 375? Well, I've cooked these on high, and then I have the oven on 375, and all I'm gonna do, these are almost cooked through on the stove, but what we're gonna do there is turn the oven off, okay? And the residual heat inside of the oven will actually continue to kind of cook those nice and slow through the middle. We don't want to have the heat on top of them because then it might just cook them to death and we don't want that. We've already got the color we want on the outside, but we just kind of want that good heat on the inside to just, oh my goodness, it just makes it so nice and tender and just kind of finishes them off. So pork chops are just getting nice and warm and they can just sit there. And the nice thing is if you have your hands in several other things, that pork can just sit in there until you're ready to serve it and it'll be just fine, okay? Now we also have our potatoes and they are boiling on the stove and I've already tested them. They're still just a little firm, so we're gonna let those keep going. But what I wanna go ahead and do in my little enameled kind of gravy sauce boat is heat up our cream and our milk and our butter that we're gonna pour into our potatoes because we want that warm so that it melts and it kind of incorporates a little better than adding cold stock or cream. I am actually gonna add about a half a cup of chicken stock to my little warmer. And I'm gonna use about a half a cup of whipping cream. You could use whole milk, you could use half and half, kind of whatever you would like. You need just about a cup of warmed liquid and a few tablespoons of butter in here. And then I'm gonna mash a clove of garlic and add it in there. You can chop your garlic all the way down if you would like to have some delicious little bits of garlic in your potatoes. Isn't that so good? I mean, we love garlic. I use it like crazy. If you don't want the flavor of the garlic, you don't want the actual bites of garlic, then you could just mash this really hard so that you get the kind of the oils out of it and float it in your cream. And then just scoop that out before you put it in your potatoes, so then that way you don't actually get the bites. And that's what I think we're gonna do today. You know what? I think I just decided I'm gonna chop my garlic. I love it that way. Like I said, you can float these little guys in your liquid if you would like to. But I sure love that bite of garlic. Oh my word. And by simmering this in this warm liquid before we pour it into our potatoes, it kind of tenderizes it so it's not, it's not gonna have that bite that, it kind of stings your nose like fresh garlic does. But this is worth going back over with your knife a few times, because you really do want a good little mince on this if you decide to keep it, chop it instead of keeping it whole. So I'm gonna make sure there aren't any big bites. I think that sounds good. Whew, it smells awesome. Gosh, I put garlic in just about everything. Okay, I'm gonna carefully scoop that up there, slide that into our liquid, and we're gonna put that on a little burner and let that kind of come to a little boil, simmer, and it'll melt the butter, and then it'll just kind of infuse all that garlic in there and get it nice and tender. I'm gonna put this little bitty burner, or this little bitty pot on this big old burner. So that should work pretty quick, I would say. Okay, so we're waiting for our potatoes. They're getting really close. And what we're gonna put in them is so good. I mean, in addition to the cream and the garlic and the butter that we've already, decided that we're gonna put in there, we are going to add some chopped chives. And I'm just gonna do a few. I love chives. I love the color. I love that little bite that it gives. You can absolutely skip the chives if you decide that you do not want them. You do not have to put them in there. And if you like a lot, like I would probably do more than just these if it were like for adults maybe. But you know how kids are. Sometimes they look in there and they say, "What's that green?" So you kind of have to, smoke in mirrors to get them to eat a little bite of green. So I'm going a little light to make it kind of kid-friendly. Okay, we have a little chive chopped right there. We're gonna stir those in just a minute. We're gonna grate some Swiss Gruyere cheese. It is fantastic. It's got that little bite that Swiss has in it, but it still melts like the Gruyere. We're gonna shred a little of that. We've got our chives chopped. Our pork is finishing up and getting tender. When we come back, we're gonna mash those potatoes and serve it up. It's a good day. This is Cooking Today. Hi, we're back. We're wrapping up chili and coffee rubbed pork chops. We have got these delicious, and these potatoes. I mean, we're working on the potatoes right now. These beautiful yellow potatoes that we have gotten fork tender and the skins have just started to come loose. I have poured in our cup or so of liquid that has the garlic in it. Oh, the smell right this minute, y'all, is unbelievable. So I'm gonna give this a mash. You can mash this as much or as little as you would like. You can leave some chunks. I'm gonna leave a few chunks because we kind of like it that way. Then I've shredded nearly a cup of that yummy Swiss Gruyere cheese. And then remember our little bits of chive that we love for color and that little fresh and that little oniony bite. I'm gonna leave just a pinch left so we can put them on top of our pretty pork chops. Okay. Oh, y'all, these are so creamy. Oh my word. That smell of that Swiss Gruyere is fantastic. That little bit of green is so pretty. Okay. Oh, I can't wait to eat these. All right, Those are good. So all we're gonna do is plate this. Look how easy this is. I'm taking my plate, and I like to take my ice cream scooper and then just do a little scoop or two right in the middle of a plate. And then we have these pork chops that we let just kind of finish off so nice and pretty in the oven. And I'm just gonna plate it right on the top, kind of at an angle. Beautiful. Okay, ready for this? We love a little bite of apple with our pork chop. So I'm just gonna put a couple little thin slices right here on top, and a little ladle of that pan sauce that's right in the bottom. Oh my goodness. All that flavor, that glaze. And another little bit of chive right on the top. It is hearty. It's good old comfort food, crusted in that good coffee and chili. There is nothing like that right there. Everybody's gonna love it. Every single bite. This is Cooking Today.
Coffee sponsored by Westrock Coffee Company. Kitchenware is provided by Una Mays. Groceries provided by Harps, Hometown Fresh.